What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction and back with some more Acid House / Acid Techno, meaning we're back for some more Hardfloor. Big shout out to Oliver and Ramon, especially Oliver, who commented on one of the very first reactions I ever did, now like 3 years ago, and I think one or two other of the Hardfloor reactions I've done. Also shout out to Steve, who will no doubt mention that I still need to react to Hardfloor's remix of Blue Monday. I will do that at some point. I don't have it in my collection, but I'm working on that. In any case, we're going to go back to their Art of Acid album 2014, more than 20 years after their debut album. And yes, we're going to listen to the tune Bubble and Squeak, which I think most fundamentally refers to the English meal. Isn't it like potatoes and cabbage? I don't know if they're boiled. I think that's the case. It's not a meal that I am personally familiar with, but I think there's been a number of like video games and other musical references. I think that guy, his name is Square Pusher, like Tom Jenkinson. I think he put out an EP called Bubble and Squeak back in the 90s. So yeah, I don't know if this just refers most fundamentally to the meal type or whether there's a more specific reference going on here, but it's another great example of the Hardfloor sound, meaning fundamentally I would call it acid house, but it's got some dissonance, it's got some really squelchy acid layers in the back half of the tune, and I think you could play it in a slower acid techno set. So again, somewhere between acid house and acid techno. Let's give it a listen. This is Hardfloor from their album The Art of Acid, with its excellent artwork on the front. It's 2014, and the track is Bubble and Squeak. Has a bit of that like deep acid sound too. Very like subterranean acid, like a dark underground party. The ride cymbal comes in above everything. It's like this spray of water over the track. Ugh. Gurgling acid. More and more insistent. Oof. Back to the the subterranean deep acid. Just like muffled kick. Not unlike what you hear when you're approaching a party and you're still on the outside, but you can hear the kick coming through the walls. It's like a tiptoeing synth line. Sneaky acid. Squeaky acid, I suppose. Big crisp hat. Everyone just going bananas. Very liquidy acid. Yeah, it's one of those tracks, and they have not a few like this, where it's simultaneously like smooth and mellow, but also wicked and intense at moments, even simultaneously. With bubbles, squeaks, gurgles, dribbles, drum rolls, you name it. So yeah, again, I think it's another vintage Hardfloor tune, despite being 20 plus years after their first album. And again, I have several other albums. I don't have their more recent one. In fact, I think they have multiple since this one. But either way, I have like their first 4 or 5 albums. I have all the ones up until this one that were on vinyl, meaning I think there's a couple in there, like early 2000s, that were like CD, maybe like digital release only. I'm not certain about that, but in the moment I have at least 4 of their albums and a number of their singles, including like the Asperience single, as well as, what else is it? I'm trying to remember the name of it. I also have, is it on Brain Crashed? I'm trying to remember. There's a track with a remix of theirs. Again, I still don't have the Blue Monday remix, but at some point I will rectify that and at long last react to it. But yes, still lots of Hardfloor to react to. Again, shout out to both of them, especially Oliver, for commenting very early on, which was one of the reasons I felt like, wait, maybe there's a place for this. Maybe there's a little lane for techno and trance and other dance music reactions, underground, like, 90s rave music reactions, which obviously my channel has become much more than that, but I still try to persist in the original core and flavor of the channel, so lots more Hardfloor coming. Do let me know what you think of this one, which again, I enjoy it because it has not only so many layers of acid, which is basically their calling card, but again, it has like a smoothness to it, but also a bit of a dissonance with that squeaky layer, and then it gets more snarly and wicked as the track progresses, but then there's also these like incredibly intense flourishes where you can feel the snare hitting and everything sort of rattling around. It's going to burst and release again, but in those moments it's very intense and almost cacophonous. So yeah, just a really dynamic tune, is I guess what I mean to say. Let me know what you think of it. I will see you next time. Peace.